Something's unravelling at the heart of Westminster, and it could spell disaster for Labour's leadership. What began as quiet unease inside the Treasury has now exploded into a full-blown crisis. Rachel Reeves, once hailed as Labour's economic backbone, is suddenly facing growing rebellion from within Britain's most powerful financial circles. Leaks, whispers and mounting suspicion all point toward one shocking possibility: the Bank of England may have lost confidence in her. As pressure mounts and political alliances fracture, one question looms large. Will Keir Starmer risk everything to protect his Chancellor, or watch her fall to save himself?
So Sir Keir Starmer is meeting the Irish leader Michael Martin in a conversation which will focus on growth and national security.
Well, meanwhile, it's reported Chancellor Rachel Reeves is planning billions of pounds of cuts to benefits and other public spending.
Madam Deputy Speaker, on the day that he took office, the Prime Minister said that he wanted to restore trust to British politics with action, not words. Well, today, his actions speak for themselves, with a budget that contains broken promise after broken promise. And reveals the simple truth that the Prime Minister and the Chancellor have not been straight with the British people.
Something significant is unfolding within Westminster, and the silence from Labour's leadership speaks volumes. Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor once hailed as the figure who would restore economic stability to Britain, now finds herself at the centre of an escalating political storm, one that threatens to shake the very core of the government. Behind the scenes, private unease has begun to spill into the open. Senior officials, once cautious with their words, are now expressing clear frustration, and the growing consensus is unmistakable. The Bank of England has lost confidence in Reeves. The tension has become impossible to ignore, raising a critical question: will Keir Starmer risk his own standing to defend her once again? And just when it seemed the crisis couldn't deepen further, new developments suggest the pressure on the Chancellor and on Downing Street itself is only beginning to mount. Before we continue, a brief note: if you find value in our coverage, consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel. Your support helps us continue bringing you in-depth, fact-based reporting on British politics. Now, let's get into the story.
Good afternoon, I'm Andrew Neil. This is The Times at 1. Chancellor Reeves will welcome the Bank of England's cut in its benchmark interest rate from 4.75% to 4.5%. But it's just about the only good news the bank had for her. It's made a big cut in its forecast for economic growth in 2025, from 1.5% only 3 months ago to a mere 0.75% now. That's bad news for a government which has made growth its primary mission. There's more bad news. The bank expects inflation, currently 2.5%, to spike at over 3.7% in the summer.
Good afternoon, I'm Andrew Neil, and this is The Times at 1. Chancellor Rachel Reeves will no doubt welcome the Bank of England's decision to cut its benchmark interest rate from 4.75% to 4.5%. But beyond that single headline, there's little for the Treasury to celebrate. In its latest outlook, the bank has sharply downgraded its forecast for economic growth in 2025, slashing it from 1.5% just 3 months ago to a mere 0.75%. That's a serious setback for a government that has built much of its credibility around one central promise: to deliver growth. And the troubling news doesn't end there. The bank now expects inflation, currently sitting at 2.5%, to rise again, peaking at over 3.7% by the summer. For households already feeling the squeeze, and for a government under pressure to prove its economic plan is working, these figures paint a sobering picture of the months ahead.
The one job that I've always wanted to do is to be Chancellor of the Exchequer. I was an economist at the Bank of England for many years. Before I became an MP, I worked in financial services. I know how to run a successful economy. I just want the chance to be able to do that and turn this economy around so that it actually works for working people in our country again.
It's no longer a matter of quiet speculation. Senior officials within Britain's most powerful financial institution are now openly questioning whether Chancellor Rachel Reeves has the competence to steer the economy through its current turbulence. And with those doubts surfacing publicly, the once unified front of Labour's leadership is beginning to show visible cracks.
To get back to its inflation target of 2% until the end of 2027. The bank thinks we've avoided a recession, but it's on a knife edge. It thinks the economy shrank by 0.1% in the last 3 months of 2024, but will rise by 0.1% in the first 3 months of 2025. Economic forecasts as fine as that are simply not bankable. We could indeed have slipped into a technical recession before spring has sprung. In essence, the bank is forecasting a stagnant economy, higher inflation and rising unemployment.
The Bank of England has long sought to remain above the political fray, but that separation is proving increasingly difficult to maintain. The British economy is under strain, inflation remains persistently high, and business confidence is rapidly eroding. Rachel Reeves was brought in to steady the ship, yet mounting reports suggest that senior figures within the bank are now questioning her ability to provide the leadership Britain's economy so urgently needs.
Okay,
in everything they're doing.
I just want to ask about what's coming up in what is supposed to be a statement but is looking more and more like an emergency budget at the end of this month. The Chancellor, we understand, it's going to slash welfare spending. It feels to a lot of our viewers like we are generating a lot of money for a conflict in Ukraine, and that's money that we took away when you came to government from pensioners with the abolition of winter fuel allowance, and now you're going to take away from another set of rather deserving and needy people, which is those on benefits.
According to several sources, discussions are already underway about potentially sidelining Rachel Reeves, altogether an extraordinary step that would send a powerful signal to the public. Labour's economic strategy is faltering. Yet despite the growing pressure, Sir Keir Starmer remains steadfast in his support, refusing to intervene. The question now is why? What is he so determined to protect? And could this escalating crisis ultimately threaten not just Reeves but Starmer himself? Because this is where the story takes a truly remarkable turn.
There was a suggestion raised earlier on this programme that if you want to raise money for defence, you could put an extra penny, for instance, on income tax for perhaps the wealthiest. You could call it the patriotic penny. Are you sure you're getting money from the right people?
So we have been clear that we're increasing defence spending. That is absolutely the right thing to do, up to 2.5% of GDP by 2027 and then up to 3% in the next Parliament. We've made difficult decisions in terms of our aid budget to fund that. Now we are waiting for the OBR.
For months, Labour has maintained a consistent narrative that Britain's finances are under immense strain. No room for tax cuts, no relief for struggling small businesses, and no additional funding for vital public services. That's been the official line from both Rachel Reeves and Keir Starmer since taking office. But newly surfaced reports tell a very different story. An astonishing £600 million has reportedly been quietly redirected into asylum seeker support programmes, a figure so large it's raised serious questions about government transparency and priorities. The revelation has triggered a wave of public anger. Across the country, people are asking the one question Reeves and Starmer are desperate to avoid. Asterisk, if there's truly no money left, why does there always seem to be money for this? Asterisk.
In the aftermath of the Chancellor's first budget last October, which has turned out to be a real drag on the economy. Though the bank is not blunt enough to say so, it's quite a damning critique of Rachel Reeves's economic policy to date. Let's dig into the bank's statement and the figures with Times columnist Fraser Nelson, who joins me in the studio. I guess, Fraser, the first thing to say is no surprise at the rate cut since the economy's flatlining.
That's exactly right. I mean, what we're seeing now is that the expectations for the rates are changing. So now people expect it to bottom out at more or less closer to 4%. So that's about 0.5% more than people were expecting this time last year. Now, that means, of course, that there's a slow narrative to this, that generally speaking, people are expecting less growth, higher rates, higher mortgages, higher borrowing rates, none of which is good for growth. So it's a long-term trajectory, is one which is getting gloomier.
You may find this hard to believe, but while British families continue to battle soaring living costs and small businesses strain under Labour's rising tax burden, the government has been quietly diverting billions into a system that does little to help its own citizens. At the centre of it all is Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor entrusted with managing the nation's finances. Yet, despite mounting public anger, she's offered no clear explanation, no transparency, and no accountability. The issue now runs deeper than economic policy. It's about trust. If Reeves and Starmer are withholding the full story on this, what else might they be concealing from the public? The question hanging over Westminster tonight is no longer whether Labour can manage the economy, but whether it can maintain its credibility at all .
Now, that means, of course, that there's a slow narrative to this, that generally speaking, people are expecting less growth, higher rates, higher mortgages, higher borrowing rates, none of which is good for growth. So it's a long-term trajectory, is one which is getting gloomier. But the growth really struck me. I mean, the bank has gave us a report last November where they expected growth pretty much, the same as they expected before that. But now we see stagnation pretty much for the rest of this year. Now we're thinking that when it comes to 2026, you might be able to see some growth then. But for the moment, they are looking at what they'd never envisaged before. Rather than a sort of post-pandemic steady increase, a period of stagnation.
If you thought the pressure on Rachel Reeves had reached its peak, think again. Inside Westminster, tension is mounting. Once celebrated as Labour's symbol of economic credibility, the Chancellor now stands at the centre of a controversy that threatens not only her own career, but the integrity of the party's entire economic message. The whispers, once confined to private corridors, are now growing louder. Questions about Reeves's record are resurfacing, and they're becoming impossible to ignore. According to official records, Reeves served at the Bank of England from September 2000 to March 2006 Yet, her own LinkedIn profile once listed her tenure as extending to December 2006 Her team insists it was nothing more than an administrative oversight. But critics argue that, intentional or not, such discrepancies chip away at the image of precision and honesty Reeves has worked hard to project. And that's just the beginning. During her later tenure at HBOS, reports surfaced suggesting an internal probe into questionable expense claims. Among them, a £152 handbag and perfume purchased for a superior. While no disciplinary action followed, the incident left an unmistakable mark. For someone positioning herself as a steward of fiscal discipline, even the perception of financial impropriety carries political weight. In Westminster, perception often matters as much as proof, and right now, both are turning against her.
Space for the plan. Sorry to interrupt you. You're thinking 5 years then to find space for the plan. I suppose the problem is winter payments gone instantly. Everything else feels long term, and everybody was looking to you yesterday to think, what is it that's going to give us hope? You're making long-term plans to build infrastructure. Ordinary people can't even make plans on what their mortgage is going to be when they have to renew, or what their rent might go up to, or what the prices are going to be in the shops. Do you see what I mean?
Well, it's right to make the long-term decisions to put our country back on the right path.
Amid mounting personal controversies, Rachel Reeves now faces intensifying political pressure from within her own ranks. Yet, Prime Minister Keir Starmer remains resolute, insisting that Labour will uphold its strict fiscal framework, even as discontent grows across the party benches. At the heart of the dispute lies a proposed £6 billion reduction in welfare spending, with significant implications for disability support, particularly the personal independence payment, PIP***. The plan has triggered a wave of resistance from Labour MPs, many of whom argue that such cuts strike at the core of the party's founding principles. For critics, this isn't just a policy disagreement, it's a moral one. They warn that pressing ahead with austerity-style measures could erode public trust and further distance Labour from the very communities it pledged to defend. The tension exposes a deepening divide between the leadership's pursuit of fiscal discipline and the party's promise of social justice.
Right, time now to talk to the woman of the moment, Chancellor Rachel Reeves, who of course has backed the third runway at Heathrow Airport in an effort to, as she puts it, turbocharge the economy and create 100,000 new jobs.
But Ryanair's chief executive has called the plan a dead cat, and it could be a quarter of a century before we see it come into force. And Sadiq Khan, Labour London MP, says he'll use legal action to stop it from going ahead. Well, Rachel Reeves joins us now. Good morning to you. We heard you yesterday, I think you used the word growth 50-odd times, that it's all about growth. But how soon will we Brits feel better off and see it? Is there any chance of it happening this year?